Coming up on today's episode of Airborne Unlimited, Pennsylvania teen solos and dad's 100-year-old Curtis Jenny. Supreme Court denies East Hampton, New York noise petition. Senate bill requires medical certificates for balloon pilots. Hello, I'm Laura Hudson. It's June 28th and this is Airborne Unlimited. Something amazing occurred at the Golden Age Aviation Museum in Bethel, Pennsylvania recently. 16-year-old Caroline Daugherty soloed. And while that in itself is pretty cool and reason for congratulations, Caroline had the opportunity to make the first solo flight in a very special airplane, her dad's 100-year-old Curtis JN4D Jenny. Caroline's dad, Paul Daugherty, is the president of the Golden Age Aviation Museum with some 22,000 hours in his logbook. Caroline has been around airplanes her entire life and has flown many hours with her father growing up around the small museum and its grass runway. Caroline reportedly decided she wanted to become a pilot after watching Patty Wagstaff at an air show. Her dad gladly became her flight instructor, and now she has completed one of the most significant milestones for any pilot, the first solo. Caroline had her choice of several airplanes in which to solo, but she wanted to fly the Jenny. Her dad didn't balk, and on her 16th birthday, she flew it alone. It may be the only time a 16-year-old student has soloed a 100-year-old Jenny. We'd bet that Caroline has a bright future in aviation ahead of her. The U.S. Supreme Court has denied a petition filed by the town of East Hampton, New York, which sought the court's review of a 2016 decision of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit concerning airport noise. This decision reaffirms the longstanding policy that America has a national aviation system, not one subject to a patchwork quilt of local regulations, said NBAA President and CEO Ed Bolen. This national framework ensures that citizens, companies, and communities can work together to meet the needs of all stakeholders. The court clearly understands that reality, and we welcome today's ruling. In an earlier decision, the Second Circuit had agreed with NBAA and other parties that the Airport Noise and Capacity Act of 1990 applies to all public use airports and prohibits operational restrictions adopted by the town. For nearly 2 years, NBAA and Friends of the East Hampton Airport had argued that the town's adoption of noise and access restrictions was a violation of that federal law. The Second Circuit ruling, now left in place by the Supreme Court, holds that ANCA continues to apply to HTO. After the break, a single balloon accident results in strong regulatory effort.
Sandia introduces the new SAI 340 Quattro TSO'd airspeed, attitude, altitude, and slip. With integral backup battery, safety never looked so good. See it now at www.sandia.aero.
There's a difference between charting a steady course and pushing for the ceiling. And for nearly a century, Hartzell Propeller has been defining that difference. It's in our passion for engineering and research and our dedication to testing the limits of performance. We are built on honor. We are Hartzell Propeller.
Based on the popular Sling 2 LSA, the Sling 4 was designed to be the most practical and desirable lightweight four-place experimental aircraft on the market. Find out more about this 115 horsepower turbocharged airplane at airplanefactory.com.
Welcome back. Senator Ted Cruz has filed a bill in the Senate that would require balloon pilots to undergo the same medical regulation as other pilots, following an accident last July that resulted in fatal injuries to 16 people. The NTSB determined that the pilot Alfred Nichols was suffering from unreported medical conditions when the accident occurred, and he was using oxycodone, Valium, Prozac, and other prescription drugs in the day of the accident. The aircraft flew into power lines near Lockhart, Texas, and caught fire. The bill is opposed by the Balloon Federation of America, which says the medical exams and drug tests for balloon pilots are unnecessary due to the low number of balloon flights in comparison to other types of aircraft. Some FAA officials agree with that assessment. However, NTSB Acting Chairman Robert Sumwalt told Senator Cruz at a hearing on the bill earlier this month that it really is alarming that this pilot was able to hang out a shingle and fly people for hire. An online petition has been created on the We the People website operated by the White House supporting the legislation. So far, fewer than 1,000 people have signed the petition against the stated goal of 100,000 signatures. With some 3,000 Aero TV programs webcast to cyberspace, sometimes it can be fun to look back and enjoy some of the places we've seen, the flyers we've met, and the planes we've flown. Here's a look at one of our favorite Aero TV classic episodes.
We actually addressed that in the Pilot's Bill of Rights too. You want to streamline things.
Never let it be said that Senator James Inhofe is shy about expressing his opinions. While talking with ANN at AirVenture 2015, Senator Inhofe said the nature of a bureaucracy is to do things slow or not get them done at all. Of course, he was referring to the FAA, but he also said his comments can apply to all bureaucracies. Search Senator James Inhofe and PBOR2 Fighting Anti-Aviation Bureaucracies on Aero TV's news channel. After these messages, U.S. Rocketry students conquer the world.
Concorde's recombinant gas RG series sealed battery technology produces a high-performance battery with the advantages of being pre-tested and fully charged at the factory. Find out more about Concorde's entire line of batteries at www.concordebattery.com. Concorde, the heart of your aircraft.
Welcome back. With so much news coming out of the aviation industry, we're summarizing some other interesting stories in a brief segment we call Around the Patch. The 10-student team from Festus High School in Festus, Missouri bested the world's best rocketry teams and took first place in the International Rocketry Challenge, sponsored by the Raytheon Company. The team represented the United States against teams from the United Kingdom, France, and Japan in the IRC at the International Paris Air Show on June 22nd through 23rd. With all of the aviation heritage in the state of Ohio, there is one thing that is fairly notable by its absence: an Aviation Hall of Fame. The Right Image Group hopes to change that. For the past decade, the group has been raising funds to construct a 10,000 square foot learning center, which would house the Hall of Fame at the base of a 270-foot tall monument depicting the 1905 Wright Flyer 3 at its top. Lockheed Martin is now in full production building GPS-3, the world's most powerful GPS satellites. The company's second GPS-3 satellite is now assembled and preparing for environmental testing. GPS-3 SVO2 is part of the next generation of GPS satellites, which have 3 times better accuracy and up to 8 times improved anti-jamming capabilities. Spacecraft life will extend to 15 years, 25% longer than the newest GPS satellites. For the first time in 99 years, a total solar eclipse will occur across the entire continental United States, and NASA is preparing to share this experience of a lifetime on August 21st. Viewers around the world will be provided a wealth of images captured before, during, and after the eclipse by 11 spacecraft, at least 3 NASA aircraft, more than 50 altitude balloons, and the astronauts aboard the International Space Station. Jeppesen now offers operators dynamic new features and functionality within its FlightDeck Pro electronic flight bag solution. Available for airlines and large-scale operators, the new version of FlightDeck Pro now provides enhanced navigation and situational awareness capabilities to simplify preparation and in-flight procedures. Well, that's it for today's trip around the patch. Now let's move on to the rest of the news. New drone restrictions are being prepared in the UK following what was described as an incident in which a drone allegedly came within about 3 feet of hitting a commercial airliner on approach to Liverpool John Lennon Airport on April 22nd. The Airbus A319 had 156 passengers, and the UK Airprox board, which monitors near collisions, said that the drone passed within 3 feet of the airline's wingtip. It was initially presumed to be a bird, the board said. However, as it got closer, the flying officer realized it was a blue drone with flashing lights. His inability to avoid the object portrayed a situation where Providence had played a major part in the incident. The government is preparing new rules that may be introduced shortly, which would make flying a drone in designated no-fly zones, such as a prison or an airport, a criminal offense. The current maximum penalty of €2,500, about $3,200, would be sharply increased. While reports of near misses between manned aircraft and drones have been on the rise, with the number of drones in the hands of consumers and businesses increasing, many have been debunked as being other objects. Well, that's our program for today. Remember that Airborne Unlimited is streamed daily Monday through Friday with additional breaking news bulletins for important stories that fall outside of our normal deadlines. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and do check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. See you tomorrow.